What if you could find a pot that combined the best features of these three pots, yet cost half the price? Would you be interested? If you are, stay tuned. Introducing the 1.2 liter Camelwil billy can. So I've seen these things starting to show up on eBay recently, and the design caught my attention enough that I thought I'd pay out the $17 and have it shipped from China. Yes, $17. Not bad when you consider the cost of a new 12 centimeter zebra billy pot, or the Solo Lite pot, or even the GSI Stainless Steel Ketalist. All at least twice as expensive as this one is. So it has a lot of features going for it. Now it does have a few drawbacks, but it has a lot of features going for it. And the first off is its size. This has got to be as close to the sweet spot as you can get for a billy can for one person. Possibly two, but definitely for one person. It's listed as being 1.2 liters, but when you fill it to the very top, that's what you get. The realistic value, or the realistic volume of this, is between 700 and 900 milliliters. And I know that because, well, I filled it full of water and gave it a try. There are markings on the inside. I don't know how well they'll show up on camera, but there are markings here right up to 700 milliliters. But if you take it up to just below the top, the bottom, or the spout on the outside, you can get somewhere around 900 milliliters. And that's more than enough water for cooking a meal, making a pot of tea, or both at the same time in some cases. So what features does it have going for it? Well, it has both swing out handles, canteen style handles on the side, as well as a stand-up, and I say stand-up bail. It's standing up on its own. Those two features alone made this worth looking at all by itself. It also has a pour spout, which is spot welded onto the front, and inside of that pour spout we can see there are a fine number of holes for straining out any, well, if you're making coffee, it may be small enough to strain out cowboy coffee grounds. Certainly tea of any type would strain out through there. It also has a recessed lid that sits nicely, is not about to fall off. Now it's not friction fit, it is not loose, but it doesn't sit with any friction, so if you tip the can over, it is going to fall out. One thing this lid does have though is one big D-ring for a lifter. And it's formed, if you can see up close, it's formed with a 90-degree angle at its base, so it sits upright naturally. Even if it's folded over into its flat position, it never goes completely flat. It would have no problem getting a stick underneath to lift the lid off with. The bail is held upright by two small notches, one on each side, right here, and they stop the bail from going over. It's a good sturdy bail. It is riveted on, and it's also riveted onto the side, unlike the zebra billy pot, which is tack welded. So this is a fairly good, steady, or solid stainless steel pot. Now, it's not quite as heavy stainless steel as is the zebra billy can. You can, if you want to, grab it and flex it, but you have to work at it to give it a flex. But it's at least as strong as the Solo Lite pot is. Speaking of the Solo Lite pot, the Solo Lite and this have about the same weight. And I'm going to annotate all the specs, the size, the measurements and everything else on the screen. So, any downsides? Yeah, there are a couple. The swinging bail or the swinging canteen style handles, they are rattly. There's no question about it that they are. Now that may be something I can modify slightly by denting in the two rims, or the two sides where it's held on, just to give it a little bit of a friction. Speaking of the handles, if you can see, there are a series of 9 spot welds holding the plate on, and that's the same as my Solo Lite. That's what it has as well. Now the Solo Lite does have nice stand-up handles that don't move and they stay out and they don't rattle around, so that's a good thing. I mentioned the pour spout, and that's one of the things that I like about this, and that has its own pour spout, quite a good pour spout, separate from the billy can, so it's not formed into the rim of the billy can like it is on the Solo Lite. More like the GSI Stainless Steel Ketalist. However, I mentioned that screening that prevents the coffee grounds or tea leaves from coming out. The holes are a bit too small, honestly. I tried to pour straight water with this and nothing else in it, just water out of this, and it comes out so slow that it wants to just run over the top of the pot. So that's something I may have to change for myself, just drill those out to the next larger size, and I can continue to enlarge them until I'm happy with the flow. It means I will lose some of the benefit of the screening to filter out some grounds from coffee and that type of thing, but I would sooner have flow that isn't restricted too much when I tip the pot over. So, dimensions of this pot are almost, and I say almost, not quite, identical to the Zebra Billy pot in height and in diameter, where it counts. Now, if you're looking at this and you're wondering, that seems familiar, haven't I seen that somewhere before? Yes, you may have seen this design before. It's quite a well-known design in the Kettle 1 by Snow Peak. The Japanese manufacturer Snow Peak has a stainless steel kettle listed at 800 milliliters volume with a very similar design. The bail is not a wide bail like this, it is a wire bail. The handles do stand out, but they stand out narrow and long, a little bit different than this. It does have a small D-ring, but it doesn't stand up as freely as this one does, and it does have a spout that is spot welded onto the front. So it is similar. It's also twice the cost, maybe even a little bit more so. This has a slightly larger volume than the Snow Peak as well. So all things considered, this seems to be the sweet spot with those small things noted, such as the rattling handles and the small size holes in the pour spout. I've had it on alcohol stove, and I'm going to have it on alcohol stove today for lunch as well, because we're under a fire ban again here in Nova Scotia. The woods are bone dry. The wind is high, the temperature is up, and the humidity is so low that you know, it's just not worth the risk of having a fire. So I am going to be cooking my lunch over an alcohol stove for this today, but I thought I'd give you at least an introduction to this pot, and I'll leave a link below in the description of where I picked mine up on eBay, so that if you're interested in checking this out, you may want to do so. So I went on the internet to have a little look to see what I could find out about the company Camelwil, and there's not much out there. What I did find is that they are a manufacturer out of China that does produce some camping equipment, specifically pots and pans. So I think this is a new offering for them. Now the funny thing is when I found the listing on eBay, it didn't have the Camelwill name listed anywhere on it. It wasn't until the box arrived in the mail that the Camelwill brand was listed on it. Something else came inside the box which was kind of cool. You have a stuff sack that comes with it. It's a lightweight material, kind of a cottony material. I'm not sure what it's made from. Certainly not heavy duty by any means, but as you can see, it is way too big to put that little kettle in. So I'm going to keep this because I think it might make a nice forage bag, something I can drop in my backpack for either collecting tinder and help it dry out, or maybe some wild edibles as I go along the trail. I've already made a material stuff sack for it, which is probably no surprise to any of you. But this looks like it's going to be a well-built, good size, good weight kettle with all the features that you would want in one. A stand-up bail handle, swing-out canteen handles on the side, and a pour spout, a recessed lid in the top with a nice big D-ring, making it easy to get on and off. Do you know, though, only time will tell. I haven't put this in a fire yet, and I won't be able to until the fire ban is off here. We're praying for rain. But in the meantime, I am going to continue to use it on the trail with my alcohol stoves, because that's, at least I'll be able to get the experience of using it that way. Okay. That's all I have for this review, or this introduction of what seems to be a really quite a nice project. All right, this has just been an introduction to the Camelwill 1.2 stainless steel billy pot. I'll continue to test it out, and then at some point in the future, I'll bring you back a more detailed review on it. But in the meantime, get out and explore. Take that path less traveled. It'll make all the difference. Bye for now.